Hey there, welcome to Prog Monster. My name is Murph and I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock, hard rock, heavy metal, and other forms of rock music. So today it's my Strange Fascination, episode number 29. This is the second most influential band to me. We're talking about these guys, The Who. I picked the live album because I think this may be the best Who album out there. And this album, which is their last album, is really good. Maybe one of the best between this and Jethro Tull. These are two of the best albums released by a classic rock band in recent years. This one is right up there. Probably my third, or maybe probably my third favorite Who album. Saying a lot for a band that's probably pushing 70s anyways. Okay, so about The Who. The Who is a bit of a different band for me. I didn't get into them right away. Yeah, it's hard not to know their songs. I've seen the videos on the MTV, the one with the kids doing the air drumming and everything like that. Yeah, that video was iconic to me and put The Who on the map. However, and I know who's next. I knew Bob O'Reilly and Blue Eyes, Behind Blue Eyes, and a few other songs. Pinball Wizard. I knew them all, but I really wasn't listening too much to the Who music. I didn't know much about them. The music to me was okay, wasn't great, but I didn't know anything about the band, and that pretty much stayed that way till turn of the century. After my daughter was born, I was driving at night, and so I used to bring books, and then I got tired of books, so I started listening to my CDs, many of them of which hadn't even been opened yet. Hard to believe, eh? Bought them all a lot of them in 1988. I went binge album shopping one day and bought about 35 or 40 albums. Well, more than half of them had never even been opened. But two of them, one was a Jethro Tull Masters album, and the other one was Who's Next. I started listening to The Who, and I started listening to Jethro Tull. Both bands are now in my top group of 8, and both in there, and they've both been in there since that time period. But The Who, one of those bands who's got good music. Their albums are good. They've got 12 studio albums, all pretty good albums. Who's Next is the only masterpiece, although Live at Leeds might qualify as well. But pretty much with The Who, it's their live stuff that really generated an interest with me. I have about 4 or 5 of their concerts live on video. I've seen them once. I have seen lots of the live coverage that they do here on YouTube and other sites here on the internet. But The Who to me is definitely of the bands out there, maybe Kiss, maybe Deep Purple. The Who are one of those bands I think are better live than they are in the studio, and thus their live stuff is always going to be better than their studio stuff. And that's been my opinion. The Who, more than any other band, is better. Their live stuff's better than their studio stuff. And nothing wrong with their studio stuff. They've got some really good classic songs, but it's the live stuff for me that puts them on the map. And I really love the show. I followed them now for the last 20 years. I know their history. They were a problem band. I would say they were like almost proto-punk, and are observed quite a bit by the punk movement as being one of the first kind of punky movement bands. And I think a large of it's because they had such an attitude, all of them. They all had big attitudes, some of them more than others. Nobody more than Keith Moon, but just everywhere they went, they eventually got banned from the Holiday Inn because of antics done by Keith Moon. He had some strange ideas about what fun was, but always an interesting band, never boring. And when they're live, they're almost abrasive with each other and the audience as they are with their off hours duty jobs, whatever you want to call them. And I like all four members. Even Roger Daltrey, who I didn't warm up to right away because I thought he had too much of an attitude. But he has just the same attitude as the rest. They all have a big attitude. But Pete Townshend is one of the great lyricists of his time. The guy is just so thought-provoking. I can't imagine how the Who would survive without him. Like, their music is good, but the lyrics make the difference, I think. And the band playing them live is even larger than life. So the Who, more than any other band for me, is about their live performance and the band members and their history and all that. Their music is almost secondary here, and that I cannot say that about too many other bands. Most other bands, it's the music. The music doesn't cut it. The band won't cut it. Some bands like Rush and the live stuff is important and the music is important and the whole band concept is important. But most bands, it's either the music or they got nothing. There's a few bands like Kiss and the Who are more about the live stuff. So for me anyways, the Who, one of those great bands in the history of rock music. Their impact on me stretches out because they are the ones who got me listening to some of the punk stuff. They're also the band that made me start thinking about heavier bands. Things like Black Sabbath. Well, Black Sabbath I was into more, but like Deep Purple and those kind of bands. Because the Who were a kind of a poppy band in the 60s, like the Beatles were, but harder at the same time. And then they became more of a hard rock band. And then they became a bit of a pop band again. But they have bits of different elements, but always with all their music, there's always this attitude that goes with it. And that to me is what makes the Who special. And I love to watch their concerts, the ones I have. Always something intriguing happening. Something fighting with each other on stage and trying to outdo each other. It's such an ego fest, right? Anyways, I hope you like this episode. The Who is my number 2 most influential thing, coming on day 29. We have 1 day left to go. Pretty sure everybody's figured out who it's going to be, but if you haven't yet, please take your guess and see if you're right. So anyways, I hope you like this, and please like and subscribe, and we'll be back with the final number 1 influence tomorrow on the 30th, and then after that, maybe in the afternoon, I will do the most honorable mentions, which will include about eight people I've got on that list. So I hope you enjoyed this. So please like, subscribe, and we will see you tomorrow for the final episode of the month before we start on our next series, which will be my favorite albums from the year 1980. Okay, have a good one. Goodbye.